Welcome everyone to 2 Point Campus. I'm Tomix and let's do a quick review, shall we? But before we get to the nitty gritty, timestamp is on screen if you're that impatient, we'll start off with a history lesson. 2 Point Campus is the successor to a very weird lineage of games. In 1994, a game came out called Theme Park, where you build a theme park. It was by a company called Bullfrog. It was very successful, so in 1997, they gave it a sequel called Theme Hospital, where you build a hospital. Who wrote this? It was a wonderful game, even if your hospital didn't even really have themes. I guess it was just to compete with the sim line of games that were being produced by Maxis back then, but it too was a widely beloved hit. This led to the creation of yet another sequel, Theme Aquarium, which you've never heard of. I know that because I never heard of it until right now as I was writing for this video. It was only released by that name in Japan and was just released as Aquarium everywhere else. Coincidentally, it sold well in Japan and didn't sell well anywhere else. Brand recognition, who knew? Wouldn't you love to get your hands on a game just vaguely titled Aquarium? There was a cancelled project called Theme Resort, but they eventually decided to refocus back on the biggest success in the line, Theme Park, and churn out a couple of bigger, better sequels with Theme Park World, also known as Sim Theme Park because it was done together with Maxis, and Theme Park Inc., which was the last game under the Bullfrog title. They were bought out by EA Games, and thus is the end of Bullfrog Entertainment. Or is it? Some of them kept working for EA, some went to create a new company which created a little game you've never heard of called Black and White! Along with famous game developer Steve Jackson. Well, there's actually two famous game developer Steve Jacksons, but the British one. But that was it for Bullfrog for 15 years. Until in 2016, a couple of folks from Bullfrog got together to create 2 Point Studios, a company that was going to make unlicensed sequels, spiritual successors to the wonderful games of Bullfrog. In 2018, out came 2 Point Hospital, which despite having no official connection to Theme Hospital, was clearly meant as a brand new version of the game with all sorts of big modern bells and whistles, imitating the previous game's style while adding on top of it. But the name was different now, and not something people knew, showing no connection to the previous games of Bullfrog. And just like we learned from Theme Aquarium about the importance of brand recognition, it was a huge hit, obviously! It was a great and widely beloved game that put 2 Point Studios on the map. So after making a sequel to one of their 2 most successful theme games, it was time to tackle the big one. Except Planet Coaster was already doing that, so let's do something else entirely. Welcome again to 2 Point Campus! In this game, you build colleges for the bumbling residents of 2 Point County, which despite being one county, has many widely different cities.
But West Springfield's 3 times the size of Texas.
The game eases you into all the gameplay mechanics by having you build a little community college and move on to bigger and better projects. A lot of the familiar gameplay from 2 Point Hospital is here, namely in the core mechanics. Upgrade rooms, train your staff, place air conditioners or heaters to control the weather, provide services using wacky oversized machinery, make everything equal parts fancy and useful to provide service to all those who need it without falling behind in demand. All this, of course, to the hilarious tunes of 2 Point Radio, the radio station that butts in every few minutes with some funny quips from its menagerie of DJs and hosts. 2 Point Hospital's original 3 DJs, now joined by a few more bumbling college radio broadcasters. Other characters, brand names, references, and mechanics from 2 Point Hospital make an appearance, but don't worry, the game is still perfectly welcoming and self-explanatory to new players if you've never played it before. Frankly, 2 Point Radio was always one of my favorite things about either of the 2 Point games. It's a bit of a shame that 2 Point Campus seems to run out of new material for the radio to spout pretty quickly, but I'm sure that'll change as more DLCs and updates get lobbed into the game. And hey, I want more of this good thing is a pretty nice complaint to have. But hey, there sure is a big heaping serving of new on top of all that familiarity. Your schools now have classes for your students to major in. If you're playing the campaign rather than the sandbox, the first levels select the main major for you, but you can usually add another few if you want. And the last few levels basically let you pick whatever, with each major having its own sets of benefits and challenges. For example, culinary arts students will randomly feed their projects to other students, thereby reducing hunger campus-wide. Archaeology students will uncover artifacts that you can sell for tons of money or put around your campus to increase its beauty and prestige rating, but at the cost of raiders invading your campus to cause trouble and random earthquakes shaking things up. Oh yeah, outdoor areas are a thing now. Archaeological dig sites, college cheeseball tournament fields, which you can win some pocket change if you kick the other team's butt, or just outdoor food courts, which will help you boost your students' moods simply because your students actually enjoy being outside. Students have mood mechanics that are influenced by everything from their needs to various stuff that happens to them. A student in a good mood will focus more in class and get better grades. A student in a bad mood will be too busy running around trying to fix that to sit down and actually study. Some classes just have one type of student in them. Culinary arts students will just have cooks, but other classes will have very different types of students, from goths to rebels to swats, which I guess is a type of nerd. I've never heard this word before, frankly. Each student type with its own unique elements and benefits that affect your campus's proverbial ecosystem. Is it really worth going through all the trouble of building infrastructure just so you have multiple types of students? No. Whatever service they provide, you can always just take care of by building proper campus facilities for cheaper, but it's still a cute touch, and I like that the people in the place that I built have some importance and individuality to each of them beyond just what funny way they walk or dress. Makes the place feel a little more alive, which is something I often miss in a lot of management games. Too often in other games, the people visiting your business are just mindless drones with different skins, and they feel no different from one another. This isn't the case in 2 Point Campus. Not only does each student type have their own little abilities, bonuses, or various ways they affect the rest of your campus and themselves, but students also feel more alive because they each also have relationships, goals, clubs, and assignments. Mechanically, most of these have the same function. Students will request an item that they can use to level something up, whether that something is their friendship or romance with someone, their mood, their ranking in whatever club they chose, or their academic score, respectively. On a grand scheme, these are just services you're asked to provide every so often, goals that pop up now and then until your campus eventually has basically everything a student can need. Most of the time playing, that's all they will be to you. Raise student scores in whatever metric you need to meet your goals. But once in a while, you zoom in and notice someone get caught up in a story that you helped create, such as a goth freshman student gradually befriending a classmate of his. They meet at a group hangout and hang out more and more until they eventually become besties and can be seen hanging around the college making a fun, unlikely duo. Or another student from the same class requesting a lover's bench, which is totally different from a normal bench because reasons, so she can have somewhere to sit and awkwardly hold hands with a girl from her class she has her eyes on, fulfill their requests and goals, and help their love blossom by fueling it with more and more material things, because that's how love works. They may start off as crushes, but give them everything they need to fall madly in love by the end of the school year, and they just may graduate as soulmates. I've also seen students be heartbroken over breakups, but I'm not quite sure what triggered those. Maybe I didn't give them enough tchotchkes. The campus feels alive. Whenever someone flunked, I couldn't help but feel like I let someone down. Though I must say, I was very thankful that unlike in 2 Point Hospital, here I didn't have to worry about getting people killed if I don't do a good enough job. Even in the context of a game, that sort of thing still bums me out. Here I just figured instead of a degree, they'd go off and get a job they liked and realize academia was never right for them anyway. I'm not projecting, you're projecting. Another thing you can level up with objects is clubs. Clubs basically grant your students special powers no matter what they study. The Power Napping Club, for example, lets students gain energy anywhere and everywhere. The Speedwalking Club makes your students faster so they can cross large campuses in a short time without missing class, etc. The more club-related objects you place, the easier it is for students to level up their club rank, and the better they get at whatever their special ability is. I really like this mechanic, though I would have liked to see students sign up for more than one club. I think it may be possible, but I've never actually seen it happen. And if I have a big campus, it seems like having any club besides a speedwalking club would just get in the way of things. Though I suppose deciding which clubs you want to have around for students to solely commit to could also be considered part of the challenge. One other massive new thing in this game is that thank God you can finally edit buildings. In Theme Hospital and 2 Point Hospital, part of the challenge was the buildings were pre-made and you had to find ways to fit whatever you needed into the space provided to you. In 2 Point Campus, however, buildings are yours to edit as you please. Still only one floor though. I hope whatever their next game is has verticality, but this is already so much more convenient, while still occasionally providing a bit of challenge for making things align upright. I also like that the architecture of your campus changes from city to city, ranging from modern to ancient. But with all the great stuff going on in this game, and as I've covered, there's a lot of that going around, the game is not without its flaws. Namely, things get buggy when your campus gets too big, with students or teachers getting stuck in a place without knowing how to get to where they need to go, which could lead to them missing classes and as a result, failing the year. So often a student will have a need they need to fulfill but would opt to do other random stuff rather than fulfill it, namely hygiene. Many students would complain of low hygiene, meanwhile showers wouldn't be used very often. Which is annoying because if they go too long without taking care of hygiene, they get sick and get caught up in a cycle of self-care that doesn't get broken until they finally decide to shower. You know, come to think of it, that is kind of a college mood. Still though, kind of annoying gameplay-wise. This is one of several issues I had where students' behavior just didn't make sense. After playing through almost the entire game, I figured out this might be caused by students spending too much time waiting in line for certain rooms, but if that was the case, the user interface of the game should have made this much clearer. It mentioned the lines were long, but it was never clear to me that these issues are connected. And frankly, even if they are, I still think it's stupid since I had food, drinks, and bathrooms all around the place where students were waiting. I actually hope this is the fault of a bug and not something that I just didn't understand because of bad user interface, because bugs get patched out, but bad UI is usually here to stay. And oh my god, is the UI in 2 Point Campus problematic. I'd go as far as to say this is one of the only things that actually got worse from the previous games. So often it just didn't give me the information I needed, or it took me forever to find out where it was hiding. When I wanted to jack up the tuition prices to meet some arbitrary financial goal, silly me, I thought I'd find tuition prices in the finance window under tuition. But no, it was hiding in the courses menu, whose menu opens from a completely different place at the top of the page, and hidden within that in a nameless settings window. What the hell? And when I wanted to figure out why I was suddenly hemorrhaging money out of nowhere, I'd try to look over my finances, but they'd show me the sum of all my income and expenses since the college opened, not just the past month or two. There were so many menus and sub-menus providing so much info, and none of it was what I needed. It took me ages to realize why on some months I make money and on some months I lose money. Granted, the game probably explained at some point that my income changes based on student XP, so months that have classes will make me more money than months that don't, but when there's a ton of new info being thrown at you all at once, sometimes important things like that bear repeating. Especially when income is something you don't have to worry about too much during the early levels of the game, and by the time it was, I kind of forgot about that little tidbit. There was also 1 or 2 levels where I was given a goal that tripped me up way harder than I think it was meant to, almost making me stuck in the game. Controlling the temperature is every bit as much of an annoying chore as it was in 2 Point Hospital, which is fine, it's part of the challenge, but I'd still feel a huge relief whenever a level came around where I didn't have to worry about temperature. Combining different majors in one campus only came in pretty late in the game, which seems like a waste. Plus, this is kind of a nitpick, but the writing for the new college radio DJs just didn't strike me as funny as the writing for the regular 2 Point DJs. I love you, Harrison Wolf, you kook. I was also a bit frustrated that the game clearly kept wanting to make hipster jokes, even going as far as to create the countercultural studies as a major in a trendy, expensive city, and having a hipster radio DJ, but it never actually included hipsters as a student type or student behavior, opting instead to make all the hipster jokes about the student type called rebels that walk around in leather jackets and Elvis haircuts, fixing broken shits because they're good with tools? Eh? I also think it's weird that while training staff in 2 Point Hospital was done in classrooms, here it's done with big, creepy, expensive brain machines that train only one person at a time. It's a college! There's classrooms everywhere! Maybe it's a gameplay balance thing? I don't know. But as you can probably tell, these for the most parts are nitpicks, and lots of them. At the end of the day, I loved 2 Point Campus. I loved building a party college where the amount of money I got was directly connected to how happy students were, and which eventually became the Breaking Point College of Funny Business, Science, and Wizardry. I loved building a magical college of wizardry and then spamming the pride flag all over it wherever I could. I love that even if I didn't choose to do that, LGBTQ romances will still inevitably happen there as part of the game. I love the wacky mascots that come to visit, and that creating an events-filled student schedule with shows and parties affects students' moods in a way that makes it inseparable from a full, successful, fulfilling student life, and that without it, they get bummed out and their grades drop. I love the way the radio talks about Jumbo McNally, Mayor Tabitha Windsock, and various characters that make this world feel more alive. I love reading the fluff text describing every little item in funny ways, and I love the little crazy taxi machines that you can place in the game that really make me want to go back and play Crazy Taxi. I love that I could make a fully vegan campus if I wanted to. I love that they put in a YouTuber I like as a cameo because he makes songs about the game. I love the humor of everything, and I love that the announcement lady reminds you to drink water every 20 minutes or so. And at the risk of pointing out the obvious, I love the animations, the goofiness, and the style that goes into making each character pop and feel full of personality and life. I just really love 2 Point Campus. It's a great game. At the time of writing these lines, I am on the last level with 100 hours spent in game, and I have no doubt that I will be buying that inevitable barrage of DLCs that will surely rain down upon us if 2 Point Hospital is any indication, because I will be wanting more of this game. It's a decent length of game, it's not insanely long, but it's not too short to be worth the money either. I definitely recommend it, and I look forward towards whatever comes next out of 2 Point County. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving a like or a comment, not because of some algorithm, but because I genuinely want to know what you think. If you enjoy videos like this where I analyze games, or just want to see me build marble runs and race around wacky racetracks, well, feel free to subscribe. Until next time, I've been Tomix, I currently am Tomix, and I will hopefully continue to be Tomix, and I will see you in the next video.